All right, this was wild. The momentum from last week is definitely continuing. Right now, we have 4 stocks up over 200%. BMR went up over 1,500%. MGIH, another nearly 1,000%. Crazy moves today. Let's start breaking it down. First stock we're going to look at is BMR. And my first trade on this was at $3.86 right here at about 7:30 a.m. This stock ended up hitting a high of $34 a share, over 34. The reason I got in here at 386 was because I was anticipating the break through this blue resistance line of 390, and I thought if we broke 390, we'd probably break over $4 a share. We did, and on that first trade, I made $600. So we're going to start a running P&L. First trade, $600 in the green. I'm on the leaderboard. All right, second trade. It does a little pullback right here. I buy this dip because what it did is it retested 390. So first it breaks 390, then it retests that level to prove it can hold as support. This is very common. I bought at about 391. It pops up to 427. I take the profit there. And boom, now I'm up about $1,000 on the day. Broke $1,000 at 7:30 a.m. Not a bad start. Okay, so the stock ends up pulling back a little bit, going sideways, kind of trying to get back above $4 here, but ends up being a little choppy until it squeezes up right here. And as it squeezes and gets over $4, I got back in it, but I bought a little bit high. It hits a high of about 420. It does sort of a micro pullback, and I got in at about 418. It goes up to a high of 449, and I lock up a little bit more profit on the way, but it's a small trade. Then it does a pullback here. It breaks over 450. I take this trade, and as it grinds here up to about $5 a share, I get myself to being in the green about $2,800. Not a huge green day, but green nonetheless. All right. It hits a high of 580. I feel like I sold it a little too soon, but green is good. I don't want to overstay my welcome. It chops out a little bit up in this area, and it drops down here to 520, and then it surges back up. I ended up getting in with the biggest position of the day for the break of $6, and although it went up to 618, it was a pretty high risk trade. It drops back down, flushes down, bounces back up, and then at the open, I got in right here on this candle, the one that's the gravestone doji, thinking it was going to squeeze to new highs. It drops down before the open, so I sold for like a tiny profit, and then it rips without me. And I was like, oh my God, I totally had the right idea, but I got in, got stopped out, and then it goes. That was kind of the theme for this stock today. One of my worst trades so far of the day was when I bought right here for the break of 750, and it flushed all the way down to under $6.50. And in that trade, I gave back half my profit on the day. I lost about $1,400, and I was up now only $1,400 on the day, which, green is good, but there was certainly at that moment my thinking of, do I walk away here with $1,400? I just gave back half my profit. Now, granted, I haven't yet hit my daily goal, which is still $5,000. So when I give back my profit from $3,000 to $1,500, it is half, but it's usually when I cross over my daily goal that I'm really being more cognizant of giving back half. So I kept trading. All right. It ends up coming back again for 750. I tried trading it in this area. I got stopped out 2 more times, but break even, so I didn't lose. And then it comes up here and it blows through 750, and I bought it at $8. All right, I only bought 1,000 shares, small position. It goes up to a high of 868. It halts up. I take my profit off the table because I knew I was chasing it. But I thought if it's going to hold this level, I'll add, and that's why I added at $8. It then opens. It goes right into another halt. I'm not in it. I'd already taken my profit off the table. I'm now up like 2,200 on the day. So something like that. 2,200. Now I'm up 2,200 on the day. So, back to green, or back to closer to my highs, but not all the way there. Hits a high of 15. It pulls back. It dips down, almost halts down, bounces back up to 17, flushes down here. It's about 10:30. And at this point, I was just like, this is really not easy stuff to trade. I did take a trade as it started to curl. Oh, sorry. It wasn't right there. I took a trade right in here. It sold off, and as it curled back up, I did take a trade right in this area. And on that trade, I made maybe like $300-400. It wasn't a big winner. So, I got myself to up something like, back to about $2,600. So I'm sitting at $2,600 on, and by the way, here, I'll show you my P&L. So I'm at 9,167 on the day, and I'm at 2,600 on BMR. So, and that's about where I finished on it. Then MGIH pops up, and MGIH ended up giving me a great trade. So it squeezes up right here, and it squeezes up to a halt once, twice, dips and goes almost to a third halt, pulls back. Actually, no, this was the third halt. This was first, second, third halt, dips almost to a fourth halt. And then when it came up right here, I added for the break of 4. And this ended up being a really nice trade because it squeezed right up to 450 all the way to $5. And on that trade, I made almost $3,000. It was about $3,000 of profit on that trade. And that changed my P&L from plus 2,600 to, let's see, actually I remember it was just over $6,000. Then I got back in for a little dip trade. I lost 300 and I was sitting at 5,700 on the day. And this is when I said, all right, it's coming up to 11 a.m. I have a meeting at 11. So I think I'm going to shut it down here and call it a day. All right. So that was about 10:45. All right. So while I'm in my meeting, BMR ends up ripping at 11 a.m. right here through 18, 19, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. And I was kind of watching it out of the corner of my eye. And I said, guys, be careful on this halt up here, because when it grinds into halts, a lot of times it'll open lower. And it did. It opened and flushed all the way down to 24, but it bounced all the way back up to 34 for a 10-point bounce. 10-point bounce. Anyways, I didn't trade it. That was an expensive meeting, as it turns out. But on the other hand, the thing with BMR is that at this price range, we were dealing with larger spreads and some pretty big whips. In fact, if you got dialed in on the chart, you would see a pretty big knife candle right there. There was also a pretty big one. Where was it? It was like, well, there was this one here. There was another one in here. So there are a couple of pretty nasty candles. Even another one looks like right there. So I missed this move, but then once my meeting was over, I was still at my computer. So I was like, all right, well, what's moving? And all of a sudden MGIH is squeezing back up. So as it started to squeeze up right here, I was like, all right, it's game time. This thing looks awesome. And as it broke through the high of 5, it hits a high right here of 513. It dips down. I bought the dip, and it rips up to 550, goes up to $6. I take the profit, holding a little bit into the halt. It opens, I do a dip and a rip. It squeezes up to 950, and at that point, I'm up $13,000. It pulls back, it rallies back up, and right here, I bought 4,000 shares for the break of 9, and it flushed right here and stopped me out for a $4,000 loss. It was about maybe $3,000 loss. So I lost almost $1 a share right there on that whip. And then after that happened, we had NA squeeze up, which I didn't trade because the volume was light. So I kind of thought, I'm not sure if I should mess with it. It's pretty light volume. But I took a trade on it. I didn't take a trade on it. I'm sorry. Then I saw PRSO, and this one was light volume, but I took a trade on this one, and I lost $700 on this candle. Just a total knife. So that was lame. And at that point, I said, all right, you know what? $9,000. That's a pretty solid day. I think I'm going to lock it up and, come back and try to do it again tomorrow. So yeah, as it turns out, 5,700, and then ended up making, about $6,000, $7,000 just on MGIH, which was awesome. So got myself up to about 13,000 approximately, then lost about 3,000, was up 9,900, and then lost 750, and finishing up right about 9,000, whatever I'm at right now, $9,167. So a green day, but you can see that P&L, if we, draw it like this, it was up, and then I gave back half. Well, let's put a bit more perspective on this. So I was up and then gave back half, and then recouped those losses here, gave back a little bit, and then added more, and then gave back a little chunk here. So you know what? This is still a lot better than I was at, you know, here or here or here or here. So I'm glad I stayed a little longer and kept trading. I tried to squeeze as much as I could out of the momentum that we had today, but it was a little bit of a bummer that BMR was not easier to trade. It would obviously, it just would have been nice if it was easier to trade, and it wasn't super easy. BOF now squeezing up. This is going to be challenging. Which of these can you trust? You know, obviously, I thought the last one, PRSO, was worthy, and it was sort of similar price, $2. This one goes to $2.79 and is halted up. So unfortunately, on days like today, you'll have your obvious stocks, which have a lot of volume, and then you have these sort of secondary stocks that have lighter volume that people are going to jump on, but a lot of them are going to give you some nasty flushes. And even NA, although it did put in a really nice squeeze here from 250 up to 450, it then dropped all the way back down to 3. So definitely a lot of volatility. It wouldn't be impossible to be trading alongside and be red today. And just for what it's worth, I just saw this flash 365 on the bid for a second. At the bottom of that candle wick right there, that candle wick had a low of 365. So that's some serious range. Well, I think the good news is that we have volatility, and volatility equals opportunity. And the more of this we see, the more confident traders like myself, and maybe you will be, to trade aggressively. So, you know, I want to try to squeeze as much out of the day as I can, but I also want to be thoughtful about, okay, I've just hit a point now where I've, you know, I didn't give back half, you know, from 13,000, I still could lose a couple $1,000s more, but you know, 6,000 was my previous high before I gave a little back. And was it, I mean, 5,700 is not bad, but you know, the more you trade, the more you generate commissions. I think this is a good spot for me to walk away. It is 12:30. It's a little later in the morning than I would typically trade, but I traded longer because the volatility was here. So I'm just going to show up tomorrow and try to add some more profit to this week, which so far is off to a great start. And look at that, back down to 360. So don't overstay your welcome. If you can get in, you can get green, you can get out. That's great. I think this is a market where, you know, hitting base hits is always important, but there's nothing wrong with just hitting your base hits. This is the type of market where it's probably going to be easier to catch base hits than a really cold market. So some beginner traders, you know, this is a market where you might be leaving profit on the table by only taking that one trade, getting green and leaving. But if it helps you build a track record of consistency and that creates confidence, then it's worth it. All right. So anyways, I'm glad to see momentum is back. As always, my results are not typical, so manage your risk, take it slow. And if you want to check out another episode that I recently uploaded, I'm going to post that right here. And I'll see you for my recap tomorrow. And of course, I'll be streaming bright and early for members at Warrior Trading. And hopefully we have another solid gap scanner. When I first woke up this morning and saw we had 2 stocks up over 100% at like 6:30, I knew it was going to be a good day. I didn't know it would be this good, but I knew it was going to be good. So anyways, I'll see you guys back at it first thing tomorrow morning.